Hi there. Today we're talking about how to make a friend that doesn't look like you. And
we'll talk about where that came from.
Well, so Anaya had her amazing event, her Ask a Black Man Part 2 with Black and White Conversation on Saturday. And when it was time for the audience to give their questions and their answers, kind of the reoccurring theme that kept happening was that everybody said, like, well, I want to have Black friends, I want to have Hispanic friends, I want to make Asian friends, but my life is all white. My church is white, my neighborhood is white, my grocery store is white, or mostly white, and I don't know how to jump over that. I don't know how to get there. That hurt. Thank you. Yes, hurdle. I'm super athletic. Can you tell? I don't know how to jump over that yoga pose.
So we want to talk about that. We want to talk about how do you make a friend of color. I think it's intentional interaction, right?
Yeah.
The same way you would do anything else. I also just want to say that make sure you're doing it for the right reason too, not so you can check a box and say, "Oh, got my Black friend."
Don't tokenize people.
Yeah, no,
is tokenizing a word?
We'll go with it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll go with it. That's not what that's about. You know what I mean? I would hope that if you're trying to make a friend of color, it would be because you want to enrich your own life, right? And hear life experiences from others that don't look like you. And that would be my hope, is why people are doing that or want to do that anyway. But it shouldn't be difficult. Not at all.
Go to a race conversation in your community. That would be a place. If you're a non-faithed person, that would be a place. Go to establishments in your community where the minority cultures tend to gravitate to, and have a real conversation. But I would say, for me, one of the things that I learned, like, can I just talk about my experience of walking into Black church for the first time by myself? What you want to do as white people, so as white people, the dominant culture supports everything that I know, right? Like, I know all the social norms of most of the places that I used to move and interact with. And one of the things that you want to do is let your social norms be challenged. So I have learned to say, like, okay, do I think this is right or do I think this is white? And a lot of things that I used to think were the right way to set up a hair appointment or to how long a church service should be.
There's some differences there.
A lot of things that I used to think were like the way, I've realized as I move through a culture that's different from my own, there's just a difference, and it's not right or wrong, it's just different. So as for white people, I would say go in and ask questions. When you go into an all-Black space, just to say, so what's the norm here? How can I do this the best way? I mean, and I usually go in with, like, my joke, like, hey, I'm white, and I want to not offend. How do I do this? And I have always been treated with warm respect and love, but I was always asking the question in humility and willing to honor and bow to whatever the norm was there. So you want to ask the question, but then not be quick to come back with your response or your rebuttal. Like, ask the question and then forget your own answer.
Right. Right. I was just actually going to say you should touch on that, you need to be able to be a little bit humble, and that, you know what I mean? Like, just be able to know you're not going to walk into that situation and have all the answers, right?
Yeah, ask questions, be humble, be teachable.
Be teachable, that's huge.
And just be willing to challenge, like, is this right or is this a cultural norm that I'm used to? Can I give an example of that?
Sure.
So, like, with some of my Somali friends and my Muslim friends, so, like, some of those moms and dads have lived through 2 civil wars.
Right.
Their life experience, like living through life or death, and some of the expressions that they use around their children are much more violent than I have ever used because they've lived through 2 wars. And so I might hear the mom saying to the child, do that again and I will end you. And I'm like, oh, what a horrendous thing to say.
And our good friend Huda has attested to that.
Yes. So And so that was shocking to me.
Yeah.
But if I set aside my cultural norm and I realize what their life experience has been, that phrase doesn't seem so shocking to me. I think that's my most recent learning.
Yeah.
Is that instead of saying like you can't talk about your kids about death like that, you'll crush them. Well, I don't know that.
Right.
That's just the white way of parenting that I'm bringing to the table.
Right.
So that's one small way, but I would say for sure bring your humility game, bring your question game, and then just be willing to feel like the odd man out.
Yeah. Get uncomfortable.
Get uncomfortable.
Yes.
You know what? There's this tiny little moment of discomfort. And then right after that, there's this whole awesome brilliance of learning things that enrich your life. Like now, I'm like, my kids don't ask for stuff nearly like they used to because they're friends with people who came from a different culture who don't gift to their children all the time like a lot of my white friend parents do. No disrespect, just a wonderful, beautiful difference. It gives me goosebumps. Like it's been such a beautiful thing for my children to have these friendships that come from this whole different life experience.
Yeah.
It's so different from America, and it's changed my children and we've felt enriched. But first you have to get over this, like there's this much discomfort, like, oh, this isn't weird, I don't know this feels wrong to me. And then right past that, deeper, richer life.
But that goes for
awesome. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna piggyback on that. Even just in my own personal life, like that's how I am with my own children. Like we don't just give my kids presents. My husband and I, Rashim, we don't give our kids presents for stuff just for whatever reason. No, my kids will oftentimes, and we'll recite to you. They will recite to you. They'll say they want something, and I'll say, "Is it Christmas? Is it your birthday?" Then no, because it means that much more when you do get it.
There's a cultural norm that a lot of us white people need. It's when you only surround yourself with everybody who looks and acts and thinks and dresses like you, then you don't have the opportunity for enrichment. Yes, it's more comfortable, but wow, it's just not nearly as fun.
Yeah. Get to know somebody who doesn't look like you. 30 minutes. I have yet to meet anybody who has done that who say, "Oh, I wish I didn't go meet that person for 30 minutes and get to know somebody different than I." I've yet to hear that.
Me either. And I have yet to feel that way.
Yeah. It will change your life. And we got to start getting to know each other, people. Like these are kind of scary, uncertain times. And, you know, like the guy said in the video and Ask the Black Man, right? Larry with the bias. Larry says, you know, you find that your fear is unjustified when you just get to sit down and know people. Right? Something to think about today, guys.
So don't make excuses for what you don't know. Sit down and get creative and think about how you can.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not hard.
10 seconds of guts. That's the motto we have in our house. It only takes 10 seconds of guts. When
I
walked into my very first barbershop and asked my first person of color about race, it only took 10 seconds of guts to get the question out. And then it was 35 minutes of sitting back and having my mind blown and my world like just whoa.
Yeah.
And then that led this whole journey. But what if I had not taken that 10 seconds of guts? And also, what did that mean to my son's barber, that he was able to have a white person listen to his experience?
Right.
We don't know. I mean, how did that influence him?
But just people in general like to share. People like to talk, and all it takes is for you to ask that person a question, right? You know, even if you feel a little uncomfortable asking a question. Now, don't be rude, you know, like, we all have common sense, you know.
Don't ask it like, do your people.
Yeah.
Don't ask for a monolithic answer.
Yeah.
You ask for the person.
Yes. That person's personal experience. Hey, what was it like growing up in Somalia? I'm sure you'll get, if you ask 10 different people who are from Somalia, you'll get 10 different answers too. But it needs to be intentional interaction. That is the phrase of the day, right?
Yeah.
Intentional interaction. So I agree with you. No excuses. No excuse. Oh, my world's vanilla. I don't.
Your neighborhood's vanilla because it was redlined to be that way.
Yep.
So can't forget that. So you gotta intentionally move outside of the white world that was created for you.
Take a risk. It's exciting. I took a risk.
And look, I mean, we could not get more awesome than this baby, right? I mean, you never know. And I took a risk of responding. So, all right, guys, go do this.
Do it.
We believe in you.
Tell us what happens. Give us feedback.
Okay.
Gracechats.
Bye.